Hello, I'm Joy Rochelle from Men's Wellness Training, and I just want to start off with telling you a story. So, a couple of years ago, maybe a little over 5 years ago, a woman sorted me out on the internet for yoga services. And after our first intro session together, she actually offered me an opportunity to work with her husband. She knew that her husband really wanted to just get back into moving his body, and she thought this was be a great place to start with him one on one early in the day before he went on to his office. And so I happily accepted the opportunity to meet her husband, Ralph, and see if it would be a right fit. And I thought, Ralph wasn't experiencing any real issues, that he just wanted to possibly do something, healthy just to get his day going. But what I really discovered is that Ralph was suffering from a lot of problems. And one of them is he had had 4 knee surgeries on his left knee. And the aftermath of constantly getting all those surgeries and being cut open led to a lot of knee issues. Also, arthritis. I'm not a doctor, but I know he was diagnosed with that. And just experiencing a lot of pain in that area, in the muscles around that area, like the quads, his thigh muscles, the hamstrings, the back of the back of the thighs. And also, Ralph was a high-powered, high-level CEO. He actually had his own post-production company. He had 2 offices that he was running to back and forth that were down the street from each other in Manhattan. And he also had a booming post-production business in India. And so, needless to say, Ralph had a lot of responsibility on him. And from that, not only was his knee hurting him, he was also experiencing just a lot of tension, specifically in his shoulders, his neck, starting from his lower back all the way up. I mean, I just discovered so many knots in so many areas, and even in his chest, that Ralph didn't know was a problem, because he had been so tightly wound up all those years, because he had a high level of responsibility to help raise his son, but also provide for his family, and not only provide for his family, but provide for all his employees that he hired. And so I started working with Ralph intimately in his health and wellness journey, and this was a new place for him because he was also an older man, so it was a very vulnerable place for him to be with me. And so, we were dealing with all this pain that was coming up. And, I realized that working with him, another problem was Ralph had some emotional pain as well that he was burying down and holding on to. And so Ralph trusted me, and I worked with him for about 3.5 years as we start to continue to build this trust. And, from that, Men's Wellness Training was born. Because what I realized in working with Ralph is that businessmen and entrepreneurs like himself were really looking for solutions. And maybe Ralph had opened up to his wife, or his wife, obviously they were together and at home, so maybe she observed him. And maybe he was brave enough to voice his pains and problems to her. But that's not always the case. Sometimes businessmen and entrepreneurs like yourself are suffering in pain silently, because maybe you think it's not man enough to be vulnerable and speak up and find solutions, or ask a friend, or ask a colleague, or a teammate. And so what we really started to do with Ralph is not only just get into him moving his body. I started him off with just simple deep breathing to help him use his lungs, use his breath to calm his nervous system, to bring him into a place of equilibrium, so that he wouldn't just wake up and start his day right in fight or flight mode. And that was such a powerful change for Ralph. And that's why we ended up working together so long, because he not only got into his body and started with learning how to connect his mind and body, he started feeling good again in his body. He started releasing the stress, through self-massage, through just a lot of embodiment practices, moving his body, breathing deeper. We started practicing meditation together, and I gave him all his tools to help him get his life back in a different way, right? He already had a fruitful life. He seemed like a very wealthy man, a very well-respected man, had a wonderful reputation professionally and personally around the city, and a big, booming, fruitful business. But what Ralph was missing was happiness and an opportunity and space to feel into his body again and understand what that felt like, because he was also an athlete. So he was always used to being healthy and utilizing and pushing his body to the edge. And so that was a way for me to tap in to learn what men were suffering from and what they were looking for. And just like after Men's Wellness Training was born, I also was referred to another wonderful client, Nick. Nick was actually a former athlete as well, and he suffered from sciatica because he had so many injuries doing mountain biking, basketball, anything and any skiing, in every sport he had done and mastered it in some way, shape, or form until he injured himself. And he injured himself so much, and I guess didn't really fully, go into rehab around those injuries, that later on in his life, they created a lot of issues, one leading to sciatica. And just so that you know, sciatica is not a pathology. It's just a sign that your body is telling you something is wrong. And usually sciatica starts with like nerve pain. And it starts just like a shooting pain running down usually the back of your legs from the back. And what some people don't know is that it really starts in the feet. And so when I met Nick, I opened a whole new world to him, because he didn't realize that foot health was so important, and all the nerves that go up the back of the body into the spine, up to the skull, into the brain, start under your feet. And so not only did I get Nick moving in his body again, I taught him like self-massage. I taught him a lot of stress relieving practices. We worked a lot into his connective tissue and his nerves to stimulate those nerves again and really get them to release that pain, so he wasn't feeling all of that shooting, pointy, tingling, hurt sensations up his body. And so we did a lot of deep breathing. I did a lot of him stretch with him getting just into his body and learning how it felt to feel good again. He is also a high-powered CEO. He has his own interior design firm. So not only was he suffering from the aftermath of all of these injuries, he also carried a lot of stress, because his clientele was very high-end, wealthy clientele, where he was redesigning all of these beautiful properties. And so there was a lot of stress, and he was constantly running around the city with heavy bags of samples of tiles and rugs and different things. And so he was also putting himself out of alignment in his posture with his spine health and mobility. So we worked on that a lot, and I just showed him a lot of ways of how to release his stress from past injuries, past trauma that he was holding on into the body. Needless to say, this has fueled my purpose to stand behind you guys. Think of me as your teacher, but also a student learning from you. And I'm just giving you the tool belt with all these tools for you to be your own handyman, for you to pull out things when you need them, or to prevent things from happening, to prevent a high level of stress, to really come back into a mind-body connection, come deeper into your breath. And so that's why I'm confident that my new program, the Release Program, a 30-day intensive, and a really beautiful opportunity to work with me 30 days to learn how I can support you and learn some new things of how, most of all, how you can support yourself. And so in this journey with me, you'll move for 30 days. You'll have access to me all throughout the week, Monday through Friday, in between live virtual sessions, one being moving the body, the other being just talking and allowing me to listen. Because what I realized in working with Ralph, he would often talk to me a lot and get a lot of things off of his chest and off of his emotional psyche before we even started the practice, before we even started breathing deeper and meditating and getting into his body. And so what I've also learned is that working with past clients is that these men are also looking for a safe place to just let go, to just talk, to express themselves, and to not be judged. Like I said, we all carry physical pain, but sometimes you're not aware that you're carrying a lot of emotional pain and baggage with you. And so it's healthy to talk to somebody to get that out, maybe somebody you know that's not going to judge you. And that's where I come in. That's why it's great to have a coach or somebody you can work with to help you work through these things. And a lot of coaching is listening. And so in the release program, I'll listen to you. I'll help you release and we'll talk through some things so that in your next session, you can get into your body having that all removed. And so, I'll customize some things for you, but we'll constantly get into your body, get into your breath, and help you not only manage your stress, but release some of that, because some of it is just from the past. And like a painter creating a painting, we can remove the former stuff to start with a new canvas, right? To start a new way. And so I am confident that the release program will be able to do that for you. We'll be able to solve all these issues, these little pains and challenges that you're having so that you can live a bigger life, so that you can go to the next level. Sometimes we're carrying so much stress and so much tension, it's contracting us of going bigger in our careers and our personal lives. And so that's what this program is all about for 30 days, just releasing all of the stuff that's coming up, not just physically, but emotionally. And there's space for men to do that as well. That adds to your masculinity, that adds to you being a businessman and a powerful force in the world when you can have a space to do that in. And so thank you for listening.